A friend of mine recently contacted me saying he had two vintage vehicles he thought I might be interested in. When he sent over the photos, I was immediately intrigued. These weren't just any old vehicles. They were authentic 1970s era domestic trucks. Both are classic examples of Chinese engineering from that time. One was a Jifang C, a legendary domestic truck, and the other a Yuejin 130 fuel tanker. I knew I had to see them for myself. When I arrived to inspect the trucks, I was thrilled by how original they were. The Jifang C had barely been touched since it rolled off the production line decades ago. The cargo bed, still intact, was made from wood, a rare sight to see preserved so well. This was a true A10 truck, a piece of history frozen in time. Every detail screamed authenticity, from the simplicity of the design to the bare interior. In fact, this truck didn't even have door panels. Inside, it was so minimalist that it felt almost utilitarian, a hallmark of the era's engineering priorities. The second truck, the Yuejin 130, was just as fascinating. This one was a fuel tanker, most likely used to transport aviation fuel. Veteran drivers I know often refer to it as a true workhorse of its time. Judging by its condition, it hadn't been started or moved for at least 20 years. The nameplate revealed its manufacturing date, and I confirmed that many of its parts were still original and dated back to 1974. Imagine, nearly 50-year-old components still in place. It's a testament to the durability of these old trucks. After inspecting both trucks and weighing my options, I negotiated a price with the owner. For 42,000 yuan, these two gems were mine. Transporting them, however, was another challenge entirely. I originally hoped to use a logistics service to move them both at once, but in the end I had to hire a large transporter, which cost me an additional 10,000 yuan. It was frustrating to deal with the logistics, but when they finally arrived home, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Now the real question loomed: should I restore them to working condition, or should I keep their original, untouched charm? Restoring vintage vehicles is no small task, and the work started almost immediately. I decided to focus on the Nanjing gas truck, the Yuejin 130, first. Years of grime had built up inside the engine, so cleaning it out became my top priority. The first step was applying motor oil to lubricate the components and prevent cylinder damage during the restoration. I carefully disassembled the pistons, cleaned them, and added just the right amount of oil to ensure they'd function properly. The engine cylinders on this truck are huge, so I had to use a half-meter-long tool to crank it manually and see if it would move. With the engine prepped, I replaced all the old battery terminals and installed a new, fully charged battery. Then came the moment of truth: testing the ignition system. Trucks from this era don't have modern push-button starts. Instead, they rely on a foot pedal ignition. My first attempt wasn't successful, but I kept at it. Slowly but surely, the engine began to turn over. As the old saying goes, if it moves, it can start. And sure enough, with a bit of coaxing, it roared to life. Getting it to start was just the beginning. I had to address several issues before it could run properly. The wiring, for instance, was a mess. Vintage vehicles often suffer from wiring problems, and this truck was no exception. I traced the high-voltage lines, cleaned them, and replaced the old connections to ensure everything was in working order. Next, I tackled the fuel system, installing a new filter and flushing out the carburetor. Dirt and grime had built up over the years, so I made sure the fuel lines were spotless before reassembling everything. Once the engine was fully reassembled, I added coolant and gave it another try. This time, the engine started smoothly, and I could see the results of my hard work. However, the journey wasn't over yet. I still needed to clean the air filters and give the engine a full flush to make sure it would run efficiently. After reinstalling all the components, it was finally ready for a test drive. After 2 days of painstaking effort, I finally managed to get the Nanjing gas truck running. Hearing the engine come to life and watching it move for the first time in decades was an incredibly satisfying moment. But this is only half the battle. The Jifang truck is next on my list, and it'll take just as much time and care to restore it to its former glory. For now, I'm left with a question. Should I restore these trucks completely, modernizing where necessary to make them functional and reliable? Or should I preserve their untouched original charm as a tribute to their history? What would you do? Either way, the adventure of bringing these trucks back to life is only just beginning.